Kevin Boyd, 42, of Lake Orion, Michigan, was discovered dead on August 6, 1994, by his 16-year-old son, Kevin Boyd Jr. Kevin had been stabbed several times and had suffered blunt force trauma to the head. The murder was heinous and brutal, but police had no idea who would commit such a heinous and brutal murder. The truth about Kevin Boyd's murder would shock and devastate Lake Orion. Kevin Eugene Boyd was born in Mars Mill, Maine on September 27, 1951. Kevin had spent the majority of his life in Lake Orion, Michigan. He was one of 7 children whose siblings describe him as happy-go-lucky. Kevin had bright red hair, freckles, and a contagious smile. He first met Lynn in the 1970s and married her in 1975. Kevin Jr., the couple's son, was born 2 years later. Kevin established Lake Orion Rental, a tool rental business that supported the young family well. Underneath the happy family facade, the Boyd marriage was in trouble. Lynn was an alcoholic who had checked herself into rehab. Lynn dropped a bombshell after returning home from the rehab facility in 1988. She had decided to end the marriage and begin a new relationship with a woman she had met. Despite his disappointment, Kevin left the family home and accepted the end of his marriage without a fight. Lynn and Kevin both moved on to other people. Kevin Boyd Jr. struggled following his parents' divorce when he was 12 years old. He began experimenting with cigarettes and alcohol. Kevin Jr. claims that both Kevin and Lynn were alcoholics and that he was abused by his parents. News.com, 2018. Kevin Jr. struggled in school, being expelled from several schools before dropping out as a sophomore. He had totaled 2 vehicles in accidents when he was 16, but his father was in the process of purchasing him a 3rd vehicle at the time of his death. Kevin Jr. was sent to live with his father after being expelled from school several times. Kevin's autopsy's report revealed severe head trauma. Kevin Sr. appeared to have dozed off in a recliner. He was beaten over the head with what appeared to be a baseball bat, according to police. He was also stabbed over a dozen times. The answering machine and Kevin's wallet were both missing from the apartment. The apartment appeared to have been ransacked in parts, but there was no evidence of forced entry. What happened was never revealed, but the death was ruled a homicide. Kevin Jr. was 16 years old when he discovered his father dead in the apartment. The boy appeared distraught and told authorities that he had spent the night before with a girlfriend in Lapeer, Michigan. He explained that he had tried to call his father that day, but he had not received an answer. He returned home and discovered his father. He also told authorities that several guns were missing from the apartment, which could have been a motive for the crime. A local musician who was performing at a local establishment the night Kevin Sr. was killed called police. When he returned to his vehicle, a truck, he discovered a wallet and an answering machine in the back. The wallet contained money and identification, proving that it belonged to Kevin Boyd Sr. Surprisingly, the answering machine's cassette tape was not inside the machine. Witnesses said the musician had been playing inside the building all night, ruling him out as a suspect. Who and why would have put the wallet and answering machine in the truck? According to police, the killing was carried out by someone who knew the victim. There were no signs of forced entry, and the crime's violent nature suggested a crime of passion. The fact that the answering machine tapes were taken suggested that whoever killed Kevin had called ahead of time to arrange a meeting. Robbery was unlikely because the cash was still inside the wallet when it was discarded. His abdomen, face, back, arms, and other parts of his body were stabbed. Some of the stab wounds were inflicted after the fact. The evidence suggested that this crime was most likely committed by 2 people. The initial blow was most likely a baseball bat to the head, rendering him defenseless. Everyone who knew Kevin Boyd Sr. was interviewed during the investigation. When the police learned about one of Kevin's side jobs, they became concerned. Kevin was hired by landlords to do manual evictions. A disgruntled tenant could have sought retaliation against Kevin for carrying out an eviction. Police investigated several potential suspects based on this tip, but nothing significant was discovered. Lynn, Kevin's ex-wife, was also investigated. She claimed that she and Kevin were friendly, despite the fact that they didn't talk much outside of co-parenting their son. Lynn's girlfriend confirmed that she had been at home the night of her ex-murder. Husband she did, however, provide authorities with possible leads to follow up on. She speculated that his girlfriend was to blame. Kevin's girlfriend left the day after the murder for Canada. She returned freely, explaining that she had left before being informed of the death. The trip to Canada was pre-planned. His girlfriend, on the other hand, received a sizable life insurance payout following his death. Kevin and his girlfriend had both purchased insurance policies. Police then spoke with Don, a long-term employee of Kevin Boyd Sr. Don stated that Lynn Boyd should be looked into further as a suspect. He informed authorities that neither Lynn nor Kevin Boyd Jr. were present at Kevin's funeral. What happened to them? On the day of his funeral, Lynn and Kevin Jr. were at the courthouse attempting to establish rights to the Lake Orion rental company. Lynn had been selling items at reduced prices for cash and withdrawing funds from the company's safe since then. Don explained that Kevin kept the safe passcode on a piece of paper in his wallet, which was the only way Lynn could have learned it. When police examined the abandoned wallet, they discovered that the piece of paper containing the passcode was missing. Lynn Boyd's girlfriend Julie requested a meeting with law enforcement months after the murder. She explained that she wanted to share information about Lynn Boyd's involvement in Kevin Boyd Sr.'s murder. Julie had apparently initially lied when she provided an alibi for Lynn Boyd. She stated that she was trying to protect Lynn because she believed in her innocence. She later realized Lynn was involved in the murder. Lynn allegedly confessed to Julie, and Julie discovered coins belonging to Kevin. Julie chose to come forward because she was afraid of being implicated in the crime. A week later, the mother of Kevin Jr.'s girlfriend informed police that her son-in-law had asked Kevin Jr. to dispose of a weapon. When the son-in-law was questioned, police discovered that Kevin Jr. had given him a gun to get rid of, which he then sold to a drug dealer. Police were able to locate the gun and confirm that it belonged to Kevin Boyd Sr. Kevin Jr.'s girlfriend, who served as his alibi, was subjected to a polygraph test and failed miserably. Following the polygraph, she admitted to being with Kevin Jr. on the night of the murder. Lynn soon realized the cops were closing in on her. She called the cops and asked for a chance to make a confession. She admitted to taking part in the murder but claimed that her girlfriend Julie was the mastermind. She provided a detailed account of the murder that corresponded to the forensic evidence, but she struggled with one aspect of her confession. Lynn repeatedly said him when referring to Julie, raising suspicions that she was covering for the true accomplice. Kevin Boyd Jr. was questioned and agreed with his mother that Julie was responsible for the crimes. He claimed he had never been inside the house. He did, however, eventually become quiet. Police asked him, "What kind of person would do this to your dad?" To which he responded, "You're looking at him." Kevin Jr. gave a confession in which he described his father's murder. Lynn had approached her teenaged son prior to the crime and suggested that his father's death would make their lives better. Lynn and Kevin Jr. were both known to be very manipulative, and they frequently blamed their problems on Kevin Sr. Kevin Jr. assisted his mother in planning the crime and informed her of when his father would be at home and asleep. Lynn allegedly hit him over the head with a baseball bat, causing Kevin to arouse slightly. Lynn then struck him with the baseball bat once more, while Kevin began stabbing his father. "I just went insane," he explained. In the fall of 1994, Kevin Boyd Jr. and Lynn Boyd were both arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Both were imprisoned while awaiting trial. Lake Orion rental was auctioned off because it had no owner. A T-shirt with a knife wrapped inside fell out while moving the last large piece of machinery. The T-shirt was confirmed to be Kevin Boyd Jr.'s, and the knife matched the stab wounds on Kevin's body. Kevin Boyd Jr. and Lynn Boyd's trials began in 1996. The prosecution presented money as the motive in each trial, implying that Lynn and Kevin Jr. wanted to profit from the business Kevin Sr. had built. Lynn Boyd blamed her son entirely during her trial. She claimed she was being a good mother by looking after her son. She objected to the fact that Kevin Boyd Jr. committed the murder on his own. She had told numerous stories in which Julie was frequently implicated, despite the fact that there was no evidence to support that story. She was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with no chance of parole. At trial, Kevin Boyd Jr. told several versions of the crime. He claimed to be with his girlfriend on the night of the crime, but admitted to knowing what was going to happen and handing over the apartment key to his mother. His mother, according to his defense, manipulated him. The evidence against Kevin Jr., on the other hand, was overwhelming, and included his confession as well as the knife wrapped in his t-shirt. In 1996, he was charged as an adult, found guilty, and sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Lynn Boyd is still incarcerated and will be for the rest of her life. She is now 70 years old. The United States Supreme Court ruled in 2012 that life without parole as a mandatory sentence for felonies committed as minors was unconstitutional. This meant Kevin Boyd Jr. would have the opportunity to have his sentence reduced. If you want to look at culpability, it was his mother who recruited him, Boyd's lawyer stated. He went on to say that determining whether a 16-year-old is beyond redemption is difficult. Kevin Boyd Jr. was granted a new sentencing hearing. His defense implied that his mother was controlling him and manipulating him. They also stated that there is no evidence linking him to the crime, and that he was only guilty by assisting this mother. Finally, they looked back on his life since incarceration. Kevin had completed his GED, vocational programs, and worked a variety of jobs while in prison, and he had no violations in over 15 years. "I've shown no violent behavior," Kevin continued. "I don't have any substance abuse problems. I am not even a reflection of who I used to be." Kevin was sentenced to 25 to 60 years in prison again in 2019. This qualified him for parole, which he received in January 2020. Kevin Eugene Boyd was murdered in cold blood by his ex-wife and son in a heinous and depraved crime. Kevin's friends and family say he loved his son more than anything else in the world and would have done anything for him. Was this a case of maternal scheming or two cold-hearted money-hungry killers? Lynn Boyd was motivated by money, and she allegedly told her girlfriend, "It felt really good to hit him with that bat." Her true character was revealed when she recruited her son to murder his own father. We can only hope that now that Kevin Boyd Jr. is free, he has overcome the evil ways his mother taught him. What are your thoughts on the Kevin Boyd's case? I really appreciate your input. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Be a part of the Chris Crime Diaries family and hit the subscribe button now.